I mentioned to Chris and Phil, I said, I just met this guy about a month ago who actually did the whistle and the voice on Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and they went, get him, get him. Luckily, I had Daniel Lupi, a composer friend of mine, who had actually introduced me to the guy. I sent him tapes, and he did his whistle to it.
O-I-G-O-S-H. Just put the hat on.
I saw a few Marvel films, and I remember one of them, I was watching this film and this music's going on, this action music is going bum ba da lin da lam bum 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 ba da lin da lin da lin da lam ba da lin da lin da, and I fell asleep. And I woke up like 20 minutes later, and it was a totally different scene, and the music was going bum ba da lin da lin da bum ba da lin da lin da lin da lin. It was like the exact same music. It was like they just had musical wallpaper in their movies. So I got a call, and I thought, well, let's see what happens here. And they said there's this guy from New Zealand, Taika Waititi, and I go, oh, he wants you to score his film. Thor, Ragnarok. He wanted to make it kind of like Flesh Gordon, He wanted to do like a kind of a more comedic take on it than what is commonly being done in any of the Marvel films. Marvel, they said, hey, all we need you to do a theme of action movie. Make it like 5 minutes long, and we'll cut it up and we'll put it all in the film. And then they said, and then we need a love theme, blah, 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 cut it up and put it in. And they had like 3 or 4 themes they wanted me. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to write something for each cue like I do with other films. When I brought in like kind of 80s electronic stuff in on top of the orchestra, he liked that combination. I remember working on that, looking for big synth sounds that we could add into the orchestra and make it really boom. Because, it's like Hulk and Thor, they're big guys and they make big noises. That scene in the gladiator ring is at this moment, that's my favorite one.
Coming. Cover your butt.
They were using a technology where they created everything that was in the show. You're in the world of Lego. It made me think about how to do the music, and so I started using older analog synths that had little tick, 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 tick kind of pieces into the sound. And I incorporated just these arpeggios and sequences that sounded like they could be made out of millions of pieces, but yet turned into something bigger. That's maybe the first film where I started worrying about how much orchestra should be mixed into the mix and how much electronics.
It turned out to be pointless.
Well, for what it's worth, this has been about the greatest 15 minutes of my life.
I was an actor on a TV show called Yo Gabba Gabba. I had 2 little daughters that had never seen anything I'd done. They loved that show. I said, okay, I'll be the art teacher on Yo Gabba Gabba.
Hello, my name is Mark, and today we are going to draw an elephant.
Every episode, there's a number of points where they go, that's awesome.
Listening and dancing to music is awesome.
That's where awesome came from, I think. I think it got added to the script after they met those guys and watched Yo Gabba Gabba.
Everything is awesome.
Oh my gosh, I love this song.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when we're part of the team. Everything is awesome.
The lyrics fit into the film really well, and it's kind of a positive, one of those earwigs or something that kind of get in your head and then you just start singing it. Very early in the days of Nickelodeon, I got a call from this guy, Gabor Chupo, and he had found this album I'd written in Japan. I was writing this music called Music for Insomniacs. So so it's kind of like these repeating melodic patterns that are like a wash. And he wanted to use one of those songs he says, I'm doing this new show called Rugrats. And I go, I've been scoring TV shows. Did you ever see Pee-wee's Playhouse? And he goes, yes, that's right. I wrote him a theme song for Rugrats, and he liked it, and he just asked me to score the show. Rugrats was important to me because I'd never written music for an orchestra before. Somewhere in the third season, they said, Mark, we're going to do a feature film for Rugrats. And lucky for me, Gabor and Nickelodeon had never made any movies before. So they didn't know that it was dangerous to hire a guy who had never written music for an orchestra to write for an orchestra. It came out pretty good. The score came out pretty good, and the film did well. I got a lot of letters from parents and stuff who said that, yeah, my kids will hear your theme song in the other room, and they just drop everything and they run to the living room. So I was really tickled about that.
The Belafonte was a long-range sub-hunter during the Second World War, which we bought from the U.S. Navy for $900,000.
He's the most hands-on artist of any of the guys I've ever met. He's totally an artist. I got to go to Rome, to the big film studio that's in the middle of Rome. He had on a set, he'd built a life-size ship that was cut in half. You could see all the different rooms, and there's one shot where he starts down in the bowels of the ship and he works his way through the different rooms and people are talking, and it's very complicated, and it finally gets up onto the deck. He used to like to take my music and play it in his headset while he was listening to, while he was shooting, because it gave him a tempo. And he was listening to a cue from the previous movie we'd done, which was Royal Tenenbaums.
God damn it, don't do that to yourself. I'm the one that failed. Or anyway, it's nobody's fault. Plus, it
Why
doesn't...
didn't you give a damn about us, Royal?
Wes likened that scene to Bill Murray being proud about his boat and talking about it. So when he came back to the U.S., he says, Mark, I want you to write something like scrapping and fighting music for that scene. So I was thinking about symmetry at the time, and I was thinking about flipping things over. And I had the sheet music for fighting and scrapping because I'd been paying attention to it. And I held it up to a mirror and played it in reverse.
The sauna was designed by an engineer from the Chinese space program, and we keep a Swedish masseuse on staff.
And he went, that's it. That's perfect. And so I didn't even tell him right away that he already owned the music going the other direction. But I waited till we recorded it, and then I told him where it came from. That's the story behind Let Me Tell You About My Boat. He was sitting there typing on his computer script. He was still writing the story, and he was going, the ship, it's got like a modern kitchen. The kitchen's totally up to date, but all of their recording equipment, cameras, their sound man's crew, their sound editing stuff, it's all outdated. It's like kind of like mid-70s. And so what would that stuff sound like? And I said, well, it would sound like early Devo synths. And so we went down to the basement here in this building, and I pulled out this old Oberheim synthesizer. It was called a TVS-1, and it had this little sequencer in it that you could do 12 steps of a sequencer, and that was it. You could, change decay and filter and sweep and all these other things as you were playing. So it's analog, but it was like you were affecting it, and you could watch the picture while you were doing it. And it became the synth that had the main line that runs through the attack on Ping Island and kind of goes over into other cues too. I just fell in love with this one software called Aeon. That software proves really effective. Like if you're using an orchestra and you need to take it somewhere else, add an extra element to it, give it a little more of a third dimension. The Aeon instruments, you can play them in the same key with the orchestras, and they're just adding these great like rhythms and counter rhythms and things to it.
sure you freeze! That's it! Come here!
Okay, I'm going to make a confession about that song. That rhythm that you hear up at the beginning, the ba-da-bam, 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 ba-da-bam. I took something I wrote for Devo and turned it inside out. It actually ended up on one of our records. I think it ended up on our second record called Timing X, is what we called it. But it's like slightly different pattern and slightly different notes. But if you heard them both, you'd go, oh, that's where it came from. Yeah, an homage to something I'd written back in like 1975 or something.
Calm down.
Look at you're leaving for school. I just want to talk to you.
Every kid leaves home. It's not the end of the world.
I knew the producers for a long time. It was Chris and Phil. And then Mike Rionda and his directing partner. I really liked them. They had a really good aesthetic, and they liked bringing in more electronics. There ended up being 2 full scores for it, and you could dial it all the way over, and you'd just hear all the electronic instruments. And it would be all you needed for the show. Or I could turn it the opposite direction. It would be all acoustic instruments. And then you could pull instruments out of each side and mix them together. And Chris and Phil loved to do that.
Okay, look at Jokester here.
It's the kind of movie where you don't want the music to telegraph humor, and the music's best position is to be playing serious the whole time. In a way, it's kind of Devo, you know, when you think about it. It's like Devo was accusing humans of being the one unnatural species on the planet, and humans being the one species that's responsible for the destruction of this planet. These robots kind of were thinking that way. They were thinking, yeah, we gotta like sequester the humans. So they floated them out into space where they would be harmless.
My name is Flint Lockwood, and I was about to invent a machine that turns water into food.
Some of the music got to be beautiful. The first time they see the miracle of food dropping out of the hamburgers dropping out of the sky, and there's this giant hamburger sitting there, you know, right in front of you, and town people are taking a bite of it and going, "That's delicious." At first, it's like a miracle, and so I got to write music that was more beautiful for it.
Eating sardines. This is totally manna from heaven.
This tastes significantly better than sardines.
Then it becomes, you know, like there's a torrent of all sorts of food that just comes down the mountain like lava, but it gets kind of scary before you get to the end of the movie.
I'm not gonna lose you again.
And the animation was beautiful and very creative. It was so much fun writing for like giant meatballs falling out of the sky and people running through them so they didn't get crushed by a meatball or a giant turkey leg or a hamburger. There were hamburgers dropping out of the sky. And so it was great to get to write music for that. I like collaboration. With Devo, we started out as collaborators. At the very beginning, it was 2 sets of brothers. Everybody kind of always chipped in. That, to me, seemed like a strength rather than a weakness. Some of these people have been working on the film for 5 years before they bring it to you. So I have to catch up with them. So I love all the different things that people bring in, and I enjoy the process of working with whoever it is that has the film, and they're trying to figure out how to tell you what would be the best music in their mind, and I like cracking that.